Psychoma, or Soul Sleep by Helen Rhodes. Part 2, Transmutation. Men have professed the love of God, of king, of church, of state, of family. A loftier strain than all of these I sing. I love humanity. Divide not and exclude not. Build no wall. No special tie shall bind me from the whole. Love's garment has no rent. It clothes to all. I love the cosmic soul. I.E. Egerton. Transmutation. Joubert has said, there are inferior truths which minister to life in its operation, intermediate truths which exercise the mind and afford it some satisfaction, and lastingly, higher truths which enlighten the soul, nourish it, and constitute its happiness. It is easy to say that we seek the truth, but to seek truth implies first to apprehend the real, second to understand the temporal, and third to harmonize the two, that into the temporal may be released as much of the real as can be absorbed by the soul that is full and full of itself. Spiritual development is masquerading under many names, and not one proclaims the need of omitting material and external evidence of sense satisfaction. The soul eagerly seeks sanction of its desires and adheres with less effort to the one who grants some measure of indulgence. Who is willing to receive a truth that lessens in any particular the pleasure of physical sensation? The point of discrimination is the separation of sensation and reality. There are those who defend the testimony of the senses as sacred altar fires. Do not be deluded. Analyze all experience. Begin to think for yourself. Awake. The love impulse is not threatened with extinction through analysis. The true elements are preserved, and only the spurious drops away. The capacity for companionship is augmented, and the elemental instincts of home and family life fostered through elimination and preserved through reevaluation. Race suicide is not the high-water mark of transcendental spirituality. It may be rather the brutality of instinct. We hark back to an animal ancestry with the solar plexus brain governing, and we signify the outgrowth life through the germination of spiritual attributes resident in the human. The becoming life is the glory with which the awakened one is in rapport. We are not blind to existing conditions because we attain spiritual sight. We are able to differentiate. Reason is not in abeyance. Rather is its power heightened to recognize the sphere of physical activity and the necessity of its functions, and consciously granting its normal development through the informing, educative process of analysis, lifting its satisfactions to a high and refined plane. The gaining of wisdom and enlightenment does not mean the neglect of any duty, the annihilation of any expression of affection, indifference of heart, or exhaustion. It means to be keenly alive to the necessity of feeding the affections with tenderness and appreciation. It makes of fatherhood and motherhood an office equivalent to signing a contract and pledging responsibility for the direction of another soul sunk in Psychoma. The awakened one acknowledges the mission of pleasure, knows the environment necessary to psychological development, and denies none of these things, and is able to enter into them with conscious enjoyment. To be involved is not the fullness of enjoyment. The lust of self is the loss of self, the negation and surrender, so complete as to involve and unify the entire creative impulse. If the desire life predominate, then the vibration of the solar plexus brain controls. But if transmuted through conscience direction, It is merged into another vibration, invigorating and fertilizing any group of cells which we wish to cultivate for the expression of invention, literature, music, and the fullness of understanding for any work. We may speculate as to the end of life on this planet should the whole world be persuaded of this truth. Mating would still prevail. The attraction would impel from like motives and mental and spiritual likes and sympathy. Jealousy and covetousness and all their attendant evils would never be possible because truth would answer to truth and aspirations coalesce. Your hesitancy at taking the giant swing into the realm of reality will be duplicated for ages. No one, save the truly wise, is willing to turn back even to regain the right road. The goal is not so easily reached that any one truth holds complete sway even for one generation. World emancipation is first individual emancipation. The Psychoma is insidious. The waking hour does not nor cannot dawn at the same moment for all dreamers. Freedom is not to be won through the killing out process. Freedom comes through recognizing tendencies that companion one as a shadow and will not fall away except they be transformed and transmuted. Mere resistance is of no avail except it be educative and informing. Virtue, when a matter of expediency and calculation, remains vice. Creative energy is at the call of the operator and functions through whatever matrix thought has magnetized. The intricate and delicate machinery of the objective body is little taken into account. Power flows automatically to centers which tap the source through habit. You may unify this vital force and command it to feed the fires of the upper brain or stupefy and retard it by relapsing into the languor of the clamoring animal nature. Within yourselves, deliverance must be sought. Treat all tendencies as friends. Say not to the reprehensible thought rising into the consciousness, "Get thee behind me, Satan," but rather, "I welcome you, my friend. You are my guarantee of power. Come with me into my laboratory of mind and create great thoughts." Then do something, if only to close a window. For any motor activity releases overplus production, and at your lightest bidding, you may pour creative instinct, dynamic with electric power, into any channel and materialize your highest desires. This process is called transmutation and may be accomplished through analysis, breathing, aspiration, meditation. Concentration and meditation will not give power so long as ignorance remains. Desire and misery will recur until one masters the nature of things. Analysis is a potent remedy and may be applied on every occasion of physical allurement or distraction. One of the surest ways of killing a tree is to lay bare its roots. When elements that constitute the stream of any individual existence have their source undermined, they cease to originate, and when we cease to preserve, we disinter the origin. Cease to dote on dreams. Awake. Face your own soul and conquer the animal self which dwells in sensation only. Link yourself to the great oversoul rather than to human caprice. The soul is not one thing and the body another. Neither may one say, "I will indulge my body, my soul will not be involved." Man, body, soul are one in the roots and in fruition. A partnership is a unit on the physical plane, dependent upon each other in unison and simultaneously as factors which constitute the elements of being, not by a part of their number nor by one succeeding the other. Method in the manner of attainment is a guarantee of success. Power flows easily in grooves magnetized through repetition. Only for a few times it is necessary to whip the self to execute the rules determined upon. Soon, action and reaction become partners, and the consciousness becomes duplex in receiving and overcoming at the same time. No teacher has furnished so detailed a method for lifting the self into higher states of consciousness as the Buddha. And Warren, in his Buddhism in Translations, gives this potent method. At the moment of need, at once visualize the body and analyze it according to the elements of which it is composed. Thus it ceases to be thought as of a living entity or individual, but only as so many elements. Through analysis, a mental reflex is acquired that is invincible. Thus are vigor and high pressure conserved. Separate desire from the animal body, concealed by advantageous ornament, and recognize the essential repulsiveness of the body, and thus acquire the mental reflex, and know that there is not the smallest reason for being pleased. Accurate comprehension of what a man is and what he does prefigures enlightenment. To analyze the body, consider this body upwards from the soles of the feet and downwards from the crown of the head, enclosed by skin, and full of all manner of uncleanness, saying, there is in this body hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, flesh, bone, marrow of the bone, kidneys, heart, lungs, intestines, bile, pus, blood, sweat, saliva, urine. Contemplate upon this and repeat it over and over. Analysis of the body may be supplemented by contemplating the Buddhic law of physical existence or dependent origination. Thus, on ignorance depends karma. On karma depends consciousness. On consciousness depend name and form. On name and form depend the 6 organs of sense. On the 6 organs of sense depends contact. On contact depends sensation. On sensation depends desire. On desire depends attachment. On attachment depends existence. On existence depends birth. On birth depend old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, misery, grief, and despair. On the cessation of birth cease all these evils. Thus does the entire aggregation of misery cease. Thus one may readjust equilibrium and power, gaining in the practice of observing the body, strenuous, conscious of sensation and the elements of being, of the nature of form, the bondage that arises through dependence upon it, how bondage not yet arised may arise, how to be abandoned, and how it may be kept from arising. As analysis is one method of deliverance, so also is the control of the breath and the law of vibration. The law of vibration in the physical world requires no effort of the imagination. Light is a rate of vibration which at a certain speed imparts color. So is sound and heat a rate of vibration. The primitive savage lighted his fire by the vibration or friction produced by rubbing 2 flints together. Motion is a rate of vibration. Every emotion pulses a rate of vibration. The pulse is the indicator. A thought forces vibration according to emotional reaction, the physical machinery recording its vibration. If it can be changed by others, it can be ordered by ourselves. We are the governor of the dynamo. Vibration is the unifying element of thought. Like attracts like. Through unrelated but affiliated thought waves, a vibration is produced which swallows up elements foreign to it. This operates for bad as well as for good. When a person senses the lower nature governing, he can readjust himself quicker through the breath than through the management of mental machinery. Thus are all mental and physical processes reactionary. The mere physical, automatic process of breathing is a blind force. It is not mere use that develops, but the amount of nourishment in thought and breath that is circulated. Breath is the energizing force in nature and the vital force in the human organism. Consequently, the most potent agency for the invigoration of the body. It is the resident power in physical life, inbreathed in the raw state, where it becomes impregnated and surcharged through the fusion of essential elements, physical and mental, and becomes the magnetic fluid by which circulation is sustained. Congestion and inflammation is obstruction of the breath. This means cell decay and death. The demand is for more breath. Any diseased part demands the conscious spraying of that part with a thought which inflates the cells of that center to respond. Thought is the lightning message carried by the unseen messenger vibration, according as the switchboard of the brain indicates the connection. The inward breath used by adepts. The spraying of the body inwardly is a developing process known to adepts for purposes of invigoration, recuperation, and healing. It conserves every atom of energy and is a vastly different thing from merely inhaling through the nostrils and exhaling through the mouth, thus pouring outside of the body all the vibratory essence of psychic equation, which has, by virtue of the intake, become charged with power. When we take breath, every atom of our being gives consent to the receiving process. We are apt to think that the burden of breathing is left wholly to the orifice in the face, but every cell inhales. When the breath is charged with a specific thought, every atom is subject to it. Inhaling and exhaling are the negative and positive poles of one process, and you may connect all the belts of the revolving mental and physical machinery and become a dynamo invincible. The method of inward breath. Inhale as from a circle with yourself as the center and the solar plexus as the focus. Hold the breath a moment, then slowly exhale upward, spraying or spreading the breath within and over the entire body, visualizing the process as similar to the piece of fireworks known as a shower. To heal any organ or to acquire an increase of power, direct the spraying to that organ, accompanied with certain affirmations. To inhale, the organs are inflated. To exhale, they contract. Beware of drawing in the abdomen except as you exhaust the breath, as this shuts off breath supply. The muscular movement of extending and contracting the abdomen will of itself supply breath without consciously inhaling or exhaling. The singer is able to sustain long phrasing only through the abdominal capacity, and it is the last source to be exhausted and holds its supply normally, as does a rubber ball. Method. Inhale slowly through the nose, inflating lungs, sides, abdomen in turn, following the in-breathing with the mental picture of its progression, focusing and holding the breath a moment at the solar plexus or abdominal brain, which is at the upper part of the abdomen, just back of the stomach. Then exhale upward along the spine and spray in thought the entire brain area. Do this at least 10 times. This vibration centered at the solar plexus is so powerful that it will restore equilibrium at any time. For harmonizing the entire body, direct and spray the body and the feet through the mental visualization, not confining it to the brain, but continuing it as in a circle. To induce sleep, visualize the breath descending the spine and carrying it downward into and out of the feet. No one who practices this exercise need suffer from cold feet. By holding the breath at the solar plexus the same length as the inhalation, chills may be averted and perspiration induced. This general exercise may be used at all times by the speaker, writer, worker, or idler, and will change the vibration of the entire body in the quickest time. Congestion, paralysis, constipation, and swellings all yield to this process as the mass is broken up by circulation and the dead or inert atoms cease to adhere. In fever, the need is to expel the breath from and outside the body. Increase of power is more rapidly gained if the exhaled breath is controlled and released slowly. The distributing station should always be the solar plexus, as this is the center for elemental energizing of physical creative force. Not until the upper brain controls the solar plexus brain can sensation ripen into understanding. How to generate this power, to transmute the separate, irresolute, and erratic currents of thought into direct and trenchant force is the path out of Psychoma into mastership. All exercises are of absolutely no value unless they are a conduit for breath, inhaling as you begin each movement and exhaling as the movement draws toward the close, making the moment of the held breath at the solar plexus the center of the exercise. The inhaling and exhaling are the going and returning of the life current and describe the circumference of the power circle, the inhaling or taking in to the limit of power, then holding, which is conserving, then letting go in exhaling. This letting go through the positive direct thought is the beginning of whatever manifestation you desire. This is the method for changing every condition. Each exercise should close with a relaxing movement. Normally, this very act of exhaling is relaxing. No teaching is recognized today in any field of study which does not regard this law of creative energy. All exercises are unprofitable unless they carry a thought in solution, refreshing the nerves as well as the muscles. To go through a form without incorporating it into the understanding and circulation is a waste of time. An idea, thought, is completed through its angle of action, motor. Just how it is deflected in the brain mechanism is the chemistry of the unseen. But thought always has muscle-motor response. To withhold action sometimes requires more muscle control than action. Extremes of joy and sorrow weigh down the muscles beyond the normal. Ideomotor methods in psychology mean that an idea or thought has specific gravity, which is the scientific psychological way of saying thoughts are things. If then our thoughts have specific gravity, and if weighed with pain or grief, the delicate nerve wires are easily exhausted under the burden of the ideomotor message. But if winged with joy and encouragement, there is an increase of power. By carrying a thought on the breath, the whole organism is stirred and magnetized to a high degree. The personal currents open and expand, inviting supply. There is a lack of nothing in the universal energy. The lack is in ourselves, contracting our own avenues and shutting out supply, or canceling the creative power through neglect to visualize the thought, fixing it in the mind and breathing upon it as a matrix for manifestation. A daily exercise should comprehend a complete series and involve upper and lower parts of the body. Arms, legs, head, closing with the body movement. For here is involved the great principle of releasing the tension of the body and mind. Each exercise forces increased vibration in the center under manipulation, and it is a mistake and may be a positive injury to leave the energy of the physical dynamo turned upon any center and left there. The idea is to harmonize the entire body. Hence, the series should begin and close with a general treatment for the entire body. Few people understand that the muscles should be held tense or contracted while exercising only, when one is unable to take sufficient exercise and to reduce flesh. To obtain power and poise without sacrificing what is already possessed, practice these exercises on relaxed muscles. This is the positive, constructive building up process. The tense muscle is the tearing down process. Invalids should practice these exercises on relaxed muscles, generating and storing up energy. Distraction of any kind may be controlled by management of the breath through inspiration, retention, and exhalation. There are many movements for developing exercises. The need is to have a few effective ones and practice them daily. The following exercise is one of the most important and taught by one of the greatest teachers in Europe for the attainment of poise, deep breathing, and a fine carriage. Carefully follow and think out these movements for securing the opening and lifting of the entire body. Number 1. A. Stand on ball of foot, arms hanging at side, rising to the toes as the hands describe an upward and outward circle. Reaching the hands out to their farthest limit in front and in line with the shoulder, with each thumb and forefinger held together at the tips. B. Describe with these fingertips a line straight out to the extreme sides as if spinning a fine thread. C. With arms extended, turn palms up, bending the hands over, touching the shoulder with the fingertips, holding them in this position. D. Bring the elbows straight out to the front. E. Swing the elbows straight back in place at the sides with elbows bent, leaving hands level with the waistline. Weight on ball of foot. This gives perfect standing position with the chest high and advancing. To use this for a general exercise and not merely for position when the elbows are brought to the sides at. E. Use for the last movement the extending of the hands to the front and describe part of a circle as in supplication, thus spraying your immediate environment with the thoughts you desire to see manifest. Repeat from 10 to 20 times. An affirmation to be used with this exercise is, lifting the head and body high, I am open to my inner side, to the inexhaustible ocean of infinite love and wisdom. Through the working of this power, I, extending the hands at close of exercise, manifest health or peace or joy or whatever specific thing is desired. Whenever a change of thought is desired, take this exercise with the affirmation, if only for 5 minutes. Number 2, hands at side, weight on toes. Inhale as you swing arms in large curve overhead. Bring them together in front and touching floor with tips of fingers. Exhale as you go back in same curve. Bend body at waist, but not at knees. Repeat 10 to 20 times. Number 3, weight on ball of foot. Hands at waist. Keep face to the front. Inhale as body is turned to extreme right. Exhale as body is brought to position. Repeat 6 to 10 times with each side and close with hands on hips. Lower the upper body from the waist. Completely relax and move it in a circle around the body. Number 4, hands at waist. Describe circle with foot as the leg is swung over a chair and increase height as practice grows. 6 to 10 times with each foot. Number 5, A. Hands on hips. Inhale. Describe high circle with chin, moving head slowly as far as possible to right side. Inhaling as return to front is made. Repeat with left side. B. Extend chin outward and in high curve as low a point as possible on chest. Return in same curve, exhaling and relaxing. C. Relax head until it is perfectly loose. Then swing it slowly around in a complete circle. This should always close the head exercise. This will destroy a double chin. Begin and close the exercises with number 1 or number 2. For reducing flesh about the hips, in addition to the leg exercises, lie flat on the floor, raising the body to sitting position and lower it without assistance from the hands, always on the breath. The body held in a tense position with the spine stiffened and bent back is not only vulgar, emphasizing the fact of lack of training, but positively injurious through the pressure brought to bear upon the nerve tissue in the spine. The upper part of the body should be flexible, shoulders flat. The first exercise develops a perfect carriage, and additional help may be used by drawing a straight line from the center of shoulder bone to center of hip bone. Lift the chest and lower the shoulders. From having control of the breath, understanding how to inhale and exhale, combining breath with thought, the next step is concentration and meditation, through which every separate and divided interest may be unified in a self-directed pulse. End of Part 2, Transmutation of Psychoma, written by Helen Rhodes.